We really need to be having a conversation in Arizona on what the development and improvement of our public schools looks like. Right now, we're not having that conversation.
Well, we really have to talk about the system. A systemic conversation is what's necessary, not isolated policy and purely economic conversations.
In Arizona's history, there have only been about 3 or 4 major changes in public education funding in the last 25 years, and all of them, without fail, have come as the result of a large coalition of interested people who finally have had enough of whatever the current circumstance is, and they decide they want to do something about it.
Having a summit that really talks about our tax policies and how they affect education is really critical.
Educators long ago understood that they cannot make a difference in the overall quality of their public education system all alone.
You need parents, you need community leaders, you need the business community.
Forums that we had here today is important because it starts to bring people in the business community, people in the education community, leaders from around the state, and start talking about what do we need to do, and let's be honest with each other on how to get it done.
It's really important to understand what schools can do for society, why society should support better education, why the business community should support better education.
Too often, business people view the education community sometimes as the enemy. And indeed, they need to have conversations together because it's the education community who provides the resources, the educated workers, to be productive within the business sector.
And I really don't think we'll get the sort of momentum we need until that happens. You need your large multi-million-dollar companies to say, I don't care about the property tax break that's going to help me now. We need this so that I can stay here in 10 years.
To have business people and educators and parents and community members who don't even have children in school, all understanding the importance of education and the benefits for all of us, and having them speak with one voice is extremely important.
Education needs to have a seat at the table when government is negotiating with business over its tax rates because education is the benefactor of that revenue. Far too long, education has not had a seat at that table, and business and government have negotiated the terms of a contract that really benefits education.
We think conversations about these combined issues, the tax structure, economic development, and school funding, need to happen in all sorts of arenas all over the state for months and years to come. And that's how we get the improvement that we really do need.
You know, it's great to say that you have low taxes, but you also don't want to say with that we have one of the worst education systems in the country. You know, business doesn't want to hear that you have bad education outcomes, but you also have low taxes. What they like to hear is that you have reasonable competitive tax rates and good outcomes in education.
I know of several companies, major corporations, who have complained bitterly about the lack of a trained workforce, who have had openings for technology workers that have been opened for years that they can't fill.
Our military bases down in southern Arizona have come out and said they have over 200 jobs right now in Fort Huachuca that are highly skilled that they can't fill because they cannot find enough highly qualified people. The business leaders in Raytheon and Honeywell and some of the bigger corporations are coming out and saying we need to improve this educational system because we need to grow our business and we need to fill the positions that we already have.
As far as the technology sector and the bioscience sector, that are so important with the knowledge-based economy, we will eventually not be able to compete.
We are going to have a community and a business environment in this state that is not going to be conducive to growth. Major corporations are simply going to leave because they cannot get the workers that they need here locally. If they go elsewhere, Arizona's in big trouble. One of the other problems, of course, is that if companies leave and the service industries leave, then a significant part of the tax base for companies, the business tax base, is also going to be gone. And the concern that people have about cutting taxes, to the contrary, we're going to have to increase taxes because there won't be the institutions here with the tax base to cover the necessary expenditures that state government's going to face in the future.
Those costs include public assistance, food stamps, they include lower tax revenues.
If you want to pay higher taxes, make sure that you have a bad educational system and an illiterate population.
We haven't put enough money and effort into creating an educational system that gives most of our kids a real opportunity. Rather, we're dealing with the problems that are created later when they find they're not able to participate in an effective fashion within our society, and then we have to deal with them as criminals.
If students don't graduate from high school, they tend to have poorer health, and it costs us as communities many billions of dollars a year to provide health care.
What we've got to do is we've got to recognize that we're going to be subject to wider swings than the average state. And the way that you prepare for that is invest in a broad-based, skill-based education agenda that helps diversify our economy, helps attract businesses that are looking not just for real estate opportunities and Sunbelt and Sunshine opportunities in the state, but come to the state looking for high-quality, high-skilled workers.
By investing more in education, it really becomes an economic engine. We get more payback than we actually have to put in up front.
If you can change the trajectory in terms of educational attainment, the benefits cascade through generations.
It's one of the best investments society can make.
The rate of return is on the order of 11 to 12% on a real basis, and I would compare that with the long-run return on stocks at 6 to 7%. So in terms of basic investments that either individuals or the public makes in education, the rates of return are really, really high.
Well, there's a lot of science that shows that investment in early childhood produces returns of maybe 7 to 1.
That's an enormous return, and even the Federal Reserve and many business leaders recognize that and support funding for high-quality preschool.
And the payoff, where will it manifest itself? Higher wages. Higher quality firms will seek out Arizona because of the knowledge and skills of its workforce. The tax base will grow. We'll be able to share the tax burden across wider numbers of people. That'll pay for amenities here.
The bottom line is businesses are people. And if you have a highly qualified workforce, motivated employees, people who have been trained with critical thinking skills, you're going to be able to build your business faster, stronger, and you're going to have a bigger base of consumers.
If we want to improve our student performance, we need to make a greater investment. You can't make a greater investment at the 2 or 3% level and expect to get any difference in performance. You're going to have to do, the 20 to 30% additional.
We have to invest, and we have to continue investing because we have to continue to plant the seeds so that we can get the fruits of our investments. And that's something that we need to recognize.
We've got to be known not just for affordable housing and a place to get some service job and a place where the sun shines. We've got to be known as a place where they put investments in education as a high priority.
The challenge is not to produce a mediocre product, a product that is just in the middle of the nation. The challenge is to produce a product that we can all be proud of and that we can look back and say, we made a good investment.
It's not about being the biggest or on the fastest track or selling the most homes. It's about being the most prosperous. It's not about how many people you crowd on the island. It's how well off the people on the island are. And the real key is education.